Henry, have I introduced you to Alan Ruzich and his boss, Vic Wertz?
Hey, how you doing? All right, how you been? Henry, he just got. Oh, I was going to say there's more consequences. Seems to be like it's pretty cool. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, just want to make sure it's in case somebody got come in or come out. Yeah. Just in case.
Yeah, sure. Huh? Wow.
Have you been introduced to my staff? My accessible services staff? Sorry. This is Montessa.
I'm on Chester. Yeah.
For ridership to the masses. This is Andrea. And this is Rose. She's has a group of trans advocates.
Very good.
I've known her for a long time.
Yes.
Years.
Am I talking?
Okay.
You've met my staff.
I wanted to make sure you got your session.
Okay.
You guys, I want to
Go,
introduce
Ren.
you to Russell too.
Yes.
This is Russell Wallace. He's the director of advocacy and.
That's it.
Hurry for
I have.
Yes.
Hello.
They all work very department.
And Jamie Poole Canterbury works in the department.
Hopefully last week for the summer. So it'll be hotter. I got her. Santa Clara 49ers. Yeah, I know, you're right. That's true.
Oh, you saw the one where I checked in.
No, I didn't see that.
It was the 49ers in the baseball started around 1. And they were they both got out around 4:20. So you're going to get all fans in Santa Clara getting all green haircut and the sea of red. And the sea of green at the Coliseum of baseball fans. We're not next year, the team's going to drop for each other. Oh, good. Yeah. We need to start Sunday games.
You're in Cal this year, training with disability, the Metro activity getting back to the estate fair, and a couple other things that we had, such as
I think you probably
yeah, so we have been trying to keep
Thank you. We have a full house. Good evening, everybody. We will call back into session this September 23rd, 2019 meeting of the Sacramento Regional Transit District Board of Directors. Would the clerk please call the roll to reestablish a quorum?
Director Budge? Here. Director Hanson? Here. Director Harris?
Here.
Director Howell?
Here.
Director Hume?
Here.
Director Jennings?
Here.
Director Miller? Here. Director Natoli?
Here.
Director Cheniere? Here. Director Cerna? Here. Chair Kennedy.
Here.
With that, we have a quorum at 100 votes.
Thank you. We will skip the Pledge of Allegiance since we already took care of that important business and move to the next item.
Okay, this meeting of the Sacramento Regional Transit District will be cablecast without interruption on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel. Tonight's meeting will air on Wednesday, September 25th at 6 p.m. and replayed on Saturday, September 28th at 2 p.m. and will be webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. It is also closed caption. Members of the audience wishing to address the board should fill out a speaker card located at the rear of the room and provide it to me or Adam. Please speak into the microphone and state your name for the record. We would appreciate everyone turning off their cell phones.
All right.
With that, Chair Kennedy, do we have a closed session report?
We have nothing to report out, correct, Counselor? Thank you. Next item.
Next item is the consent calendar, items 1 through 5. And I don't have anybody signed up to speak.
I'll
Mr.
move
Chair?
consent.
Yeah, and I just want to comment that I'm willing to vote for it with the understanding that I will not be there because Rancho Cordova has city council that night.
Okay,
So Rancho Cordova will not be there.
thank you.
So noted.
Any other questions, issues? We have a motion by Director Howells, or a second? Second by Director Jennings. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Next item.
Motion carries at 100 votes. Next item is public addresses the board on matters not on the agenda.
Mike Barnbaum. Good evening, Mike.
Good evening, thank you. On September 9th, with the board not meeting, I was honored to attend the Yolo County Transportation District Board of Directors meeting. Just for those in the audience and viewing at home that may not know, Yolo Bus is currently the only public transit service provider in the 6-county, 22-city SACOG region that serves, at this time, Sacramento International Airport. No other public transit service providers serve the airport at this time, and they have been since 1997. One interesting takeaway at their meeting, besides their getting involved in their own comprehensive operational analysis called YOLO Go, was the item of the UC Davis campus, UC Davis Medical Center shuttle. This is a shuttle currently provided by UC Davis and is more or less closed transportation only to those for students and the employees of the medical center. A gentleman who is a non-voting member of the board, his name is Matt, and he is the UC Davis representative, provided a report to the members about the potential of this going to a partnership between the Yolo County Transportation District and the Sacramento Regional Transit District. And he said something quite interesting, which I wanted to report to this board, and that's the idea of going through the scheduling, the planning, and most importantly, an upcoming launch. So one idea was that in their report in question, do they just go to a launch in approximately 12 months, or do they look at a Sunday, April 5th soft launch followed by a Sunday, September 6th grand launch of the service? So as to look at if they did a soft launch in April, Matt reported that that would allow them, they feel, to work out any bugs, any kinks, any outstanding matters on headway issue, whether the peak hour should be 20 minutes or 30 minutes, while midday service would be every 60 minutes. So I think that this is a very exciting thing. I look forward to hearing more from them again on October 14th. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mike. Jeffrey Tartagia.
Board members, Chairman Kennedy, To staff, I will say, guys, you just went through a marathon for SAC Forward. I congratulate you. The unintentional consequences you're still going to have to figure out between now and January. Later on, you have something that's going to be the triathlon for you. So I'm not certain whether you're ready for that and whether you're totally understanding that. And since Steve is there, I suspect I shouldn't say the words further so we get into any agenda item conflicts. I remember that from before through there. But I want to say thank you because I think you did a great job. At the same time, with the marketing strategy, it made it clear to me that it's not customer service that RT needs to understand and work on. It is the rider. And you have problems, big problems through there. The first one I'll start off with is please consider that you don't need to say every single damn moment that you are hiring drivers. What needs to be the first priority is showing what bus number it is that is there in front. You've had repeated times where it just says, we're hiring drivers. So we have no idea whether it's in 38, a 30, or anything else. The other conflicts with this new scheduling is you have bus numbers, 88, 86, 30, and 38, that are hard to read and are conflicting when they're going to the same bus stop locations. Something else you need to address. You have people that have been for 10 years that you now have interrupted their schedules, and it's hard to get finding out what is the way that things need to be adjusted. People will accept change, but right now, you're not doing the things that need to happen to make that. To the board, I will say to you is I'm clear, and I don't see many in the way of paratransit people here. And again, offer, you guys should have made sure before the consequences of things going on and happening that you had a joint board meeting so there would not be a conflict before you did the things that you are proposing to do. At the same time, you also, board, initiated and proposed this free day thing through here. And did you even think about the consequences of paratransit when you offered those free rides days through there? It made chaos and headaches for Sunday and Monday when you did that. That's the time I'll introduce of our time period that I'm out through there. I will have more items to say on further agenda items.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey. And Arthur Ketterling.
I'm Arthur Ketterling, and I would like to mention one thing that it's for myself and a couple, three other people that I'm mentioning it to for them that they couldn't be here tonight. But on bus number 1, I know there hasn't been no change on the time at all, but on bus number 1 and this is the Saturday schedule at 7:41 p.m. and 8:41 p.m. that there is people will be missing the number 1 that takes it because that number 21 doesn't leave Lewis and Orlando until 7:27 and 8:27, and they would miss number 1 by, I think, by 4 minutes. And what the people would like to know if there's a chance this early by maybe changing it to maybe about either number 1 or 21 so they can make connection with number 1. And that is all. And it's great to have number 21 run later on the weekend as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Arthur. Appreciate your comments. I have no other public speaker slips at this time. Next item, please.
Next item, item number 6, new business, whether or
I don't
not
think you
to
have one, Mr.
terminate
Chair.
the Americans.
Pardon me? I'm sorry.
Excuse me?
Director Natoli?
I was just saying, I think you have one that's going to a late arrival for speaking off agenda.
Let the chair make that decision.
Well, then you'll have to hand your
Yeah.
card to the
Point of
clerk.
order,
We'd-
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
We've completed our.
Well, he got the card in, so we'll let him go forward. You guys are tough at the city, man. Thank you.
Well, these people are waiting here for agenda items.
I understand. I understand.
I hope somebody else didn't show up with a card.
Oh, he was walking, Mr. Chair, point of order, he was walking to the clerk.
we're-
You had it filled out. I mean,
we're-
it's not like we're taking
Mr.
it out of order, my gosh.
Thank you, Director. James Worsnip. I will say, Mr. Worsnip, that it has been requested that you be allotted a great deal more time than others who come before the board. I have weighed that, thought about it seriously out of courtesy for a board member. I'm going to give you a little bit of leeway. I'm not going to give you the amount of time that's been requested because it's simply not fair to all of those people who come down here once or twice a month at times and give their time. So go ahead, and I will give you a certain amount of leeway out of courtesy to my colleague, but try to stay within your allotted 3 minutes.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I can always come back at a later date.
Yes, sir.
And be put on the agenda.
Well, you can always show up at public comment. Please proceed.
Thank you very much. I just want to thank Supervisor Natoli for inviting me towards the board meeting tonight. I want to thank the board members for listening to me. I'm here to offer help and assistance how to improve SAC-RD on how SAC-RD conducts its real estate practices and procedures. I want to give you a little bit of background about myself. I have 2 degrees from UC Berkeley. I have 35 years of commercial real estate experience in various different types of commercial real estate. I worked for the state of California for 12 years. I've done some consulting for the county of Sacramento, and I worked briefly for SAC-RT for 3 months, most recently until February 1st of this year. I was an interim real estate manager after being contacted by an outside headhunter who was looking for expertise. I feel I'm a very valuable asset to the board in that I know and witness many bad real estate practices and deals that have been conducted by SAC-RT previously and even currently that are continuing today by the current management team. Real estate and right-of-ways are one of the most valuable and important assets that SAC-RT has. It's been tremendously mismanaged since its onset when SAC-RT was created 40 years ago. They should be properly managed by professionals who are well experienced, educated, and professionally licensed in California. I have a fiduciary responsibility and duty as a licensed broker to point out any deficiencies, waste, fraud, corruption, and give my honest opinion to whether the real estate transactions is in the best interest of the party or the organization involved. It's important to protect that public entity and the taxpayers from ill-advised or bad real estate deals. You need to know the basics, fundamentals of real estate. You need to run the business of real estate using the best real estate practices, procedures to safeguard and protect and maximize real estate assets. I did not see any of these practices or procedures at SAC-RT. I did not see any remotely qualified real estate professionals at SAC-RT during the time I was there, and could not find anyone from the past administrations who were professionally licensed, experienced, and properly qualified or educated in real estate, even remotely qualified, in order to best represent SAC-RT, the board, and the taxpayers.
Could you please wrap up in 30 seconds?
I'd be happy to come back, like I said.
You have every right to come back and speak during public comment.
Okay, I'd like to wrap up. Professional real estate does not cost you money, it makes you money. Misuse, misspending of federal, state, and local funds should be reported. STA, SACOG, FTA, the state, and other authorities should know about my findings.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next item, please.
Thank you, Supervisor Natoli.
Next item, item number 6, new business, whether or not to terminate the Americans with Disability Act Paratransit Service Agreement with Paratransit, Inc. and operate ADA paratransit service in-house. Before you are 2 resolutions. 1, authorizing the general manager CEO to provide notice of termination for convenience to Paratransit, Inc. regarding the current ADA paratransit service agreement and operate ADA paratransit service in-house effective April 1, 2020. And the second resolution, authorizing the general manager CEO to provide notice to the City of Sacramento, County of Sacramento, and the Sacramento Area Council of Governments that SAC-RT will withdraw from the agreement relating to the funding and provision of transportation service to the elderly and disabled in Sacramento County, also known as the 4-party agreement, effective July 1, 2020. Presenting is Laura Ham.
Ms. Ham.
Good evening, Chair Kennedy and directors. The reason we're here tonight is to determine a path forward related to the provision of ADA paratransit service. The existing contract with Paratransit, Inc. is now expired, but in holdover status. And after several months of negotiations, PI and SAC-RT have agreed that the contract should be terminated. The current contract authorizes terminating for convenience upon board approval. The termination provision requires at least 6 months' notice. The good news is that SAC-RT is prepared to operate ADA paratransit service in-house, and PI has committed to working with us to ensure a smooth, negotiated transition of ADA services back to RT. If notice is issued on October 1, the start date for an in-house operation would be April 1, 2020. Although this action has not yet been approved, we are already developing a detailed plan in order to be ready to quickly move on the many issues that will need to be addressed in this transition. One of the first actions required is a comprehensive outreach plan, which will include immediate outreach to our ADA-eligible passengers and other stakeholders in the communities that we serve. We will continue to work closely with the SAC-RT Mobility Advisory Council and will form an ad hoc committee of the council and other stakeholders to provide input on this process. Beginning tomorrow, we will send out emails and letters to all of our riders to let them know about this transition. We want riders to know that the service will essentially stay the same, but they'll just be calling a different phone number to schedule their rides. We will solicit input about additional ways to inform our passengers, and we would like to hear more about service needs and concerns. We'll take a multifaceted approach to reach as many people as possible and intend to be fully transparent in our outreach. We've identified a strong leadership team at SAC-RT with existing staff that has depth and breadth of experience in ADA operations management, training, software, and dispatching, with over 122 years of combined experience in our current leadership team. We conduct ADA paratransit eligibility determinations in-house already, as well as dial-a-ride, paratransit, and microtransit. We will use a combination of existing and outside talent to fill all key leadership positions. And it's important to note that we have also gained valuable experience with the startup of Folsom and Elk Grove service in the past year, both of which were accomplished in a short time frame. Staffing for paratransit service will include employment opportunities for paratransit drivers and other key staff, such as mechanics, reservation clerks, and supervisors. We're estimating that 150 to 180 employees will be required, and as noted in the staff report, we can leverage existing staff in various support areas, such as IT, finance, and human resources. We'll offer equal or better compensation to all employees, and to that end, discussions with the unions are underway. We established expedited hiring processes in the Elk Grove and Folsom startups, and we intend to do the same with this district-wide paratransit operation. In the area of operations, we're readying to procure scheduling software and related equipment, for which we have diverse experience in-house already on various paratransit scheduling platforms. And we will ensure that all staff are trained to proficiency in the provision of ADA paratransit service, including customer service techniques, ADA and disability awareness, first aid, CPR, and other mandatory training. Vehicles used in the service will include the 101 paratransit buses that SAC-RT already owns, and 40 new replacement vehicles that are now ready to be deployed. Funding is secured for an additional 40 vehicles, which we will be ordering just as soon as possible. This will be a great opportunity to rebrand the service, and staff is in the process of developing a system name. And in the area of maintenance, we will develop maintenance and fueling plans and conduct maintenance training that is specific to ADA service, ensuring that lifts are maintained properly and that staff has all appropriate certifications. We're targeting several locations to dispatch our paratransit vehicles. We would like to maintain a location in South Sacramento, as well as 2 locations in the northern part of the service area, likely our maintenance facility at McClellan and an expansion of our Folsom satellite location at Hazel Light Rail Station. There are a number of other logistics we need to manage in the transition, including an IT integration that will transition all of the vital client records, including trip data, subscription ride information, to SAC-RT's scheduling software, as well as integration to other SAC-RT systems for employee and asset management. And we will maintain a strong focus on our overall safety and risk programs. As we move through completing negotiations with bargaining groups, we will also be nailing down our scope, verifying estimates of annual rides, revenue hours and miles, and finalizing other startup costs. This transition will require an update of a number of policy and plan documents as well, as noted on the slide. I just want to reemphasize that the most important element of this plan is our commitment to our riders. We will strengthen our educational programs regarding using the integrated fixed route and paratransit systems. We will potentially allow our ADA paratransit customers to use our fixed route system for free and reduce the fare on paratransit for the first year of the program. We well know that the mobility paradigm is changing quickly with microtransit and other innovative services, and we anticipate that we will continue to have more ADA customers move to other services, providing more mobility and capacity on our ADA paratransit system. In our delivery of paratransit service, we will ensure efficient and effective scheduling and dispatching of service and commit to total transparency in the delivery of the service. We know our customers want shorter wait times and efficiently scheduled rides, and we strongly believe that SAC-RT can deliver that service. The second item before you tonight is the 4-party agreement, which dates back to 1981. It established a framework to fund disabled and elderly transportation in Sacramento County, and it also led to the basis of the structure of the PI board, the current PI board. Many things have changed in the transportation setting in Sacramento County since 1981, including the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act, for which the paratransit provisions went into effect in 1992. And after Measure A passed in 2009, the city and the county of Sacramento stopped providing direct funding to paratransit under the agreement, making the terms of the agreement outdated. Although it's not related to RT's ADA paratransit service agreement with PI, PI has asked SAC-RT to withdraw from the agreement, and staff also recommends that the board take action tonight to withdraw from that agreement effective July 1, 2020. So in summary, with your approval tonight, we will provide notice of termination for convenience to PI effective October 1 and begin negotiating terms of separation. And upon approval, we would also provide notice to the other 3 parties of SAC-RT's withdrawal from the 4-party agreement. We ask for the board's consideration of both items, and that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. Are there questions before we go to the public? Are there questions of the board? Seeing none, we will go to public comment, and we are going to limit public comment because of the volume of cards to 2 minutes. Mike Barnbaum.
Thank you, Chair Kennedy, members of the board. Mike Barnbaum, and I would like to make an intent motion to adopt item 6, resolution A and resolution B. To the presenters' points, Regional Transit has efficiently moved and done service of this type for Folsom and Elk Grove in a short amount of time. But in keeping in mind this intent motion, we have to keep in mind some advocacy points for riders and employees. Will riders still be able to call, and what number, at least a minimum of 2 days in advance, and during what hours for the call center? Will riders be able to book regionally based Elk Grove trips, even if trips originating and terminating within city limits still need to use eVan? Upon first day of RT being the ADA service provider, will RT allow for all non-expired fare media to be accepted until the expiration date has arrived? Will riders still receive a, quote, zero denial policy, close quote, such that when a ride is requested, the rider is guaranteed a ride regardless if the ride is in a cutaway, a van, or a taxi cab? And last thing, a condition to be imposed in the resolution on behalf of the employees. All existing paratransit employees, regardless of employment status or position, should be offered similar positions within the Sacramento Regional Transit District and, whenever possible, the same or better salary and benefits package, meaning a job and or career is a huge key in life without the fear of homelessness or failure under any circumstance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for the motion and the questions. Would you please, Mike, would you please give those questions to the clerk so that staff can get them answered? And then if we could get those to all the board members, that would be great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
David Becker.
Good evening, Chairman Kennedy and ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is David Becker. I'm an operator with Sacramento Regional Transit and the executive board member of the local ATU 256. I bring greetings from our president and business agent, Ralph Niz, who is currently out of town on union business. I am here on behalf of the president and our paratransit members. I would like to once again to express the ATU 256 viewpoint on bringing paratransit in-house to Sacramento Regional Transit. This will benefit the public with higher level of ADA services. It started with Careful Coach, and now it's time to bring back home to Sacramento Regional Transit. Thank you for your time and patience in regarding this important issue.
So I just have a quick question. So Ralph's been out of town a lot lately, I think.
Yeah, he's in Vegas at the convention right now, the ATU convention. So they sent me instead.
Tell him we say hello.
He was at the retirement board meeting last week. So.
Okay. 20 red, please.
Vic Wertz.
Chairman Kennedy, thank you, board. My name is Vic Wertz. I'm the Senior Vice President of Rehabilitation for Pride Industries, located in Roseville, but serving the Sacramento area. We are the largest employer of people with disabilities in the country, with over 3,400 employees that are disabled or have some barrier to employment. About 800 of those are in the Sacramento area. We also have a transportation company that serves approximately 700 individuals with about 300,000 rides per year. We're here to express our gratitude for the movement forward on this. We represent a number of individuals whose livelihood and job depends on timely transportation. We recognize the cessation of this agreement and the reasons for that, and completely agree with the board in that decision, and also have a great deal of confidence in the board and in the transition plan also. Did want to mention that there are a number of community vendors that provide these transportation services also, and have a great deal of experience with ADA, and we would appreciate any consideration of those vendors in further development of your transition plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for everything Pride does in the community. Charles Johnson.
Mr. Chair and members of the board, my name is Charles Johnson, and I am a member of the Regional Transit Mobility Advisory Council. My comments below are my personal thoughts and do not represent any position taken by the MAC. I am also a member of the Sacramento County Voter Accessibility Advisory Council, which has a meeting in progress as I speak. The existence of that advisory council is mandated by state law under the Voter Choice Act, and I take my duties to the council seriously. I choose to attend this meeting because the issue before the board tonight is of paramount importance to me. The ADA-eligible wheelchair-bound cohort has limited options for alternative means of transport outside the services provided by Paratransit, Inc. For example, we cannot, even on special occasions, get a ride in a friend's car, and vehicles for transporting a person in a wheelchair are limited and exceedingly expensive to obtain on a part-time basis. From the point of view of the consumer, I endorse RT taking over the ADA portion of Paratransit Inc.'s service as long as the service provided is equal to or better than the service currently provided by Paratransit Inc. Regional Transit's performance over the last several years gives me confidence that it will be a good steward of the ADA services. I do have a concern about the integration of ADA service and non-ADA service provided by two different entities. There are times when one leg of a trip is ADA and another leg is non-ADA. Well, I, as a consumer, have to make reservations with two different entities. My concern as a consumer is limited to receiving the best service possible in a financially responsible manner. And secondly, I wholeheartedly approve the RT removing itself from the four-party agreement as it currently stands. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Lee, it strikes me that as we're getting these questions, and I'm sure staff is writing them down, but that we could probably use a fact sheet that addresses some of these questions and it's readily available as we go forward.
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. And actually, all these questions, including Mike Bonbon raised, we have talked about that. We have answers to all his questions.
Great.
Certainly, we have answer to your questions. So we are working with PI Paratransit Inc. to say if we can combine, if we can operate the non-ADA service too, and just like they contract that part of business to us.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
Jeff Tom.
Stop. Mike's coming to you.
Oh,
Mike's
okay.
coming to you.
Actually, no. My name is Jeff Tom, Mr. Chair and members. I am a member of the Mobility Advisory Council and also have been active in various disability-related organizations on the local, state, and national levels. However, tonight I too speak as an individual consumer of paratransit services. I endorse the plan because the stated goal of that plan is to improve services for paratransit riders and make them more effective and efficient. I associate myself with the comments of individuals such as Mr. Birnbaum and Mr. Johnson. I do so because there can be nothing worse than having implementation come at the cost of services. If so, frustration will mount, the situation will be worse rather than better, and you'll have nothing more than a revolt on your hands by paratransit riders. On the other hand, if these questions are adequately addressed, I think that the disability community has long recognized that positive changes should and can be made by a shift in operations to RT. So, assuming that the stated mission continues to be the case and that consumers are given top priority, I believe this board is on the right track by approving the shift to operation of paratransit services by RT. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Jeffrey Tartagia.
Jeffrey Tartagia, paratransit rider, RT advocate. I'm supportive of this for paratransit. I don't think RT is ready to do this. And the reason I will point this out is 2 years ago, The first 30 buses of your 1500 series have yet to be made ADA satisfied in the handlebars on there because they changed from one restraint system to the other. L Street has not been dealt with from an ADA perspective yet. That may be part of Steve Hanson and part of active transportation, but L Street and the combined issues with the arena still have not been addressed. You can do a great job of dispatching. Yet I will turn around and tell you, even with paratransit, is when you change over from the UCC to other paratransit assets, there is a lag and a delay in dispatch and communication. So communication is the struggle that you have constantly have, and still I believe that you have a problem with. The reservation system, I certainly have reservations that you're going to have of the confusion and the riders you're dealing with of when you go to multiple reservation systems to try to do an ADA ride. And unless there is a single number that will say, I'm stuck here, how do I get where, you're going to have dissatisfaction. The next thing I have is it door-to-door service or is it curb-to-curb service? There's others, but I will leave the slip through there and say, you do not have the reservation system that is ADA, even with all the smart technology that you've offered so far. It requires a smartphone. Many disabled, many people, paratransit riders, don't use those.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Farber Stanton. And after Barbara will be Helen OConnell, if we can get a microphone ready.
Okay. Barbara Stanton, Ridership for the Masses. I'm sure you got our list of questions that Henry, in 30 minutes, responded to on a Sunday. So he gave me all the answers to our questions, and I came up with a couple more questions. So, okay, I'm up here to ask a couple more questions. Are you still going to have service to the airport, like they have service now to the airport?
That's the plan.
Pardon me?
That's the plan.
Okay.
We'll actually answer these questions on Sunday.
On Sunday. Thank you so much. Okay. So we talked about if people transition from the paratransit service to the fixed route service, will there be training? Paratransit has a mobility travel training branch, and they do a really good job. We do, Ridership for the Masses, support that. So will RT have something like that for people making the transition should they choose to go over to that side?
Absolutely. We're going to ask you support too if you can volunteer on that.
We support this. However, it's a wait and see situation. And like SAC Forward, we're gathering information on positive and negative side of SAC Forward. We've had a lot of positive side about extended service. Oh, I can get someplace at 8 o'clock where I haven't gotten before. So far we've had more positive than we've had negative. And so that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Helen.
Good evening, Board. This is Helen OConnell. I, too, am a member of the MAC Board, and I have questions on the door-to-door service. I have several friends that are unable to get from the curb to a building door due to their lack of vision and direction abilities, and they're worried that they're going to be stuck going to a door that's not the door that they need. I'm also worried about maybe not having enough service available to meet the demand for all the rides and having denial of service. Also, I think Regional Transit is a good organization, and they're going to do their best. But these two objects that I brought up were what I was concerned about. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Helen.
Mr. Chairman, can Nora just answer these two questions?
Just quickly answer, since it's come up several times. RT will maintain door-to-door service as it is provided today, and there will be no trip denials. We are federally mandated to meet 100% of demand.
Thank you. And thank you, Helen. Pam Floor.
Good evening, Chair Kennedy and members of the board. I'm, Northwind. I am the chair, and my comment is personal. I think that this is a very good move, but I want to say in 14 years that the Mobility Advisory Council has been in effect, and I've known everybody that's on it, I think we can agree on one thing, and I can speak for them, and that is we want the best possible transportation for the seniors and disabled, and we want money to be targeted wisely and accounted for, tracked. So I'm fully in support of this move. I think that one real benefit is going to be an ability to expand some combination of resources for disability riders. Excuse me. For example, we spent a lot of time on conditional eligibility in defining that and making sure that everyone who needs door-to-door on occasion will have it, but if they are able to use fixed ride under certain conditions, that they can do that. And let me tell you, that gives people a lot more options, a lot more flexibility, possibly even more dignity in some respects, and it saves them money. And if you're on a very limited monthly SSDI, difference between $5 and $10 each ride is quite a bit. So I think this is a wonderful move for our people that we represent. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you and the MAC for what you guys do for.
And there are 6 of us here tonight.
Thank you very much. April Wilk. Yes.
Well, you addressed me as April Wilk, and there's a story behind that. My 5th grade teacher, who was my penmanship teacher, told me to get out of her class. I'm April Wick, but I have really bad handwriting. But I made it okay. So thank you, Mrs. B. I made it okay. So I'm April Wick, and I am the Executive Director of Resources for Independent Living. I want to thank Chair Kennedy and the board for receiving my comments tonight. I'm also a member of the MAC, and my comments tonight are in my professional capacity as the Executive Director of Resources for Independent Living. For those of you who don't know, Resources for Independent Living is the local independent living center serving Sacramento and Yolo counties. We are a cross-disability, peer-run agency that provides consumer-driven services to people of all ages and all types of disabilities in those counties. And because of our funding, we are prohibited from taking an official position on contracts or where money should be moved. But I do want to say tonight that we are in support of whoever has the contract that is going to provide the most culturally competent, efficient services for people with disabilities. So I first want to say thank you to Paratransit Inc. One of my earliest memories dealing with Paratransit Inc. was when I was a high school student attending the Youth Leadership Forum at Sac State, and they had the presence of mind to train their new drivers at this program of youth with disabilities. And so for a long time they would teach them how to do proper tie downs and how to properly talk to people with disabilities, and we were happy to serve in that capacity. So I want to thank Tiffany and the group there. I also want to say that we're really looking forward to continuing to work with RT. They know how passionate I am about increasing mobility options for people with disabilities, making sure that we're taking care of the people who are always going to need to rely on paratransit because one size does not fit all, but also recognizing that there's systemic barriers that push people to paratransit, such as lack of accessible routes or lack of accessible streets to get to those routes. And we're looking forward to holding RT accountable for that, as well as other system changes that need to be made. Thank you.
Thank you, April. I apologize for the mispronunciation.
It's okay.
Glenda Marsh.
Thank you, Board. I'm Glenda Marsh, and I am here representing Sacramento Metro Advocates for Rail and Transit, a recently new organization. And we fully support this opportunity to align service with how things currently work today, and disposing of old arrangements that don't make sense anymore, and taking advantage of the capacity and the skill and experience that Sacramento Regional Transit can provide. So we are very interested in expressing our support too for the ridership, that they have the opportunity through processes to help develop that service and what it should look like in a new era of service. Again, taking advantage of what SAC RT has to offer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Glenda. And that's the last card I have. Is there any other member of the public like to turn in a card? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board. Are there any questions or comments at this time? Is there a motion?
I'll move the item.
You moving? Or you have a comment?
I have a comment.
Okay, Mr. Cerna.
I just wanted to thank the advocates, not just the ones that spoke, but everyone that took time to be here this evening. This is obviously a decision that this board is not making lightly, and I'm glad that some of the last commentary was really, I think, some of the most poignant for me, which is throwing it back to us and reminding us that we have a real serious obligation to be very accountable, and this is going to be it could be a big change for a lot of people in terms of the service provider. We're hoping that the service is going to improve. I think we, like many of the speakers, look at this as a tremendous opportunity. It's not just about a different brand, a different name. It's about better service and making sure that we can kind of continue the trajectory that this board, with our leadership, has set for ourselves in so many other different contexts. And this is just yet another, I think we can really demonstrate to the public and the writing public that we can do what's best for the people that we serve. So again, thanks to everyone that took time out of your busy schedules to address us tonight. I appreciate it.
Vice Chair Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to echo kind of what Phil Cerna just said, which is that it's reassuring to see so many advocates, both who are using the senior and disabled service, the ADA service, and the other advocates for transit, that you're largely aligned around this decision. I think it is not without great pause that we've thought about this, both agencies, but also we have to keep riders at the center of our focus, make sure that this does benefit the riders, that we continue to reach out and work, whether it's with the MAC, with Resources for Independent Living, or anyone else. And so, Mr. General Manager, as we go forward, I hope we continue to engage the MAC to bring the transition plans, that we continue to do outreach in the community. I know the riders in particular are going to be the most concerned about continuity. I did hear a question, I can't remember who it was from, but about scheduling ADA and non-ADA trips, and just to make sure that that's as seamless as possible in the conversations with PI. But in the end, ultimately, if this wasn't for the good of the riders, then we should not do it. And hearing so many of you speak today in favor says a lot. And so I think that you deserve a lot of respect and praise for coming here to help inform our decision.
Director Cheniere.
Thank you, Chair. I kind of want to echo what both of my colleagues have said here and thank the MAC folks for coming tonight. I think it's, since we hired Henry, we haven't seen each other, but appreciate all the work that you do. And I have no doubt that you'll hold both the staff and this board accountable for making sure that the service is excellent. That's the main thing and the bottom line here. Also want to just say thank you to Paratransit for all the work that they've done. The attitude thus far has been one of working together to make sure that this is a smooth transition for the ridership. That's, I think, the most important thing that we can be doing to make sure that the transition is seamless. And then as we work to increase the level of service as we go forward. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? We had 9 motions, not including Mr. Barnbaum. And so if we could make the motion again so we get on the record. Moved by Director Cerna. Second by Director Cheniere. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
Motion carries at 100 votes.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. We appreciate it. Next item, please. Yes, that was both items.
Always. All right. Next, I'm going to ask everybody to please be as quiet as possible as you exit, because we still have a session to continue with. Thank you. Item number 7, information, update on the light rail modernization project and the use of Proposition 1A high-speed rail funding, presented by Brent Berniker.
Thanks, Cindy. So good evening, Chair Kennedy and members of the board. As Cindy indicated, this is an information item. Staff plans to return to the board formally on October 7th with a formal action. The topic of the issue paper is formally assigning the Prop 1A funding that was approved by the voters back in 2008. As stated in the issue paper, the Prop 1A funding has been made available to rail operators in the state of California with capital projects for passenger rail lines to provide connectivity to high-speed trains and for capacity enhancements and safety improvements. The reason that this item is coming forward now is that SAC-RT has a project that would significantly benefit from these funds. So back in May of 2018, SAC-RT was awarded about $64 million of TIRCP funds and about $20 million of congested corridor funding. The total project at that time was $144 million. When the funds were awarded, the project scope was increased to $166 million, creating a shortfall. So SAC-RT has been negotiating the purchase of these light rail cars that this money was going to be used for. And included in that negotiation, there's some discussions that these cars can be used at the Sac Valley Station, the downtown rail yards, throughout our entire system, any interconnectivity project. So to use this funding, we need the CTC to bring the funding plan forward to the Commission for approval. CTC staff has made it clear that we need a fully funded project, and so they need an action by this board. The Prop A funds would demonstrate that this is fully funded. This is time sensitive because the CTC will meet on the 8th and the 9th. Therefore, October 7th, it's important that we bring a resolution to assign $28 million of Prop 1A funds for this purpose. I'm going to open it up for questions.
Vice Chair Hanson. You want to do public comment first? Okay, we're going to do public comment first. Because apparently I'm not running this meeting.
He's being awfully bossy tonight.
Yeah, Barbara Stanton, please.
Keep the chair on his toes. Best. Save
Okay, Barbara Stanton, ridership for the masses. I'm here again. Okay, so you all got the message that said we support the dissolving the streetcar community facilities district and support the suggestion of dissolving the streetcar JPA and ask that monies be available to RT to be used for light rail modernization project. That's it.
Thank you very much.
You all got that, hopefully. I never know.
Yep. Stephen Barossa.
Stephen Barossa, Ion Sacramento. I commend RT for putting together this deal with Siemens and San Diego to obtain light rail cars at a tremendous discount. They are in the process of wanting to acquire 23 with the option to purchase another 36. If RT were to be able to get all 59 into those cars, would represent about the 2/3 of the fleet. There's a savings of $88 million on the table with that purchase. That's a huge opportunity, not only for RT, but also for the taxpayer. So we totally completely support reprogramming these Prop 1A funds for the purchase of procuring new light rail cars and upgrading the stations to accommodate those cars. Now, I'm not clear this connector, West Sac to Richards Boulevard, and how that ties in, how they want to tie this into this. If it's in terms of having more cars available, because whenever there's a light rail extension, then you're going to need more cars to operate on that. But, the connector is not a project that I'm in favor of, because it seems to me that it's already well served by today's YOLO bus service. And tomorrow, when you have a new I Street bridge that comes in, that will connect West Sac to the Richards Boulevard and would provide that loop for YOLO bus, as well as there's also the new UC Davis electrification project, where we're looking at 15-minute frequency of electric buses from Aggie Square to UC Davis via downtown, possibly West Sac. West Sacramento, because they're with their streetcar project, are sitting on $35 million plus another $1 million a year they allocated for that project. They would be wise to expend that money back into YOLO bus, giving us 15-minute frequency, peak frequency, better service. And this would also serve the airport, which is another cost-saving benefit if you use buses instead of these light rail expansion projects. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hanson, is it okay if I call on you now?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair Hanson.
Thank you. I think that everyone knows that this has been a long, complicated process related to trying to connect the two cities together. And earlier this year, we got bids for the streetcar project that were far in excess of the funds available. And that's really, over the last 9 months or so, caused a lot of consternation about what to do to move forward. But it also means that some of the timelines on the federal grant are about to expire. And what I hope we can do here, because we also have an SB1 match that we've got to achieve, is that we give clear direction to the general manager tonight that while streetcar continues to be something that both cities aspire to, I think in the short term, the money that was originally given to us through Prop 1A to service and better connect high-speed rail to our light rail system at the Sacramento Valley Station and to improve our system to service that future need, that it would be best to return that money to SAC-RT to pursue other projects. And what I do is pass a motion or make a motion for direction that we have staff come back at the October 7th meeting with a decision for the board about how to allocate the money between the abbreviated SVS loop and the light rail modernization project. And if one or the other can't be funded through this Prop 1A allocation, that they show us how to do it, whether that's through an additional grant application for SB1, whether it's regional funds that we would apply for through SACOG or other things. But we are under the gun here to spend this money, so to speak, and it's time to move forward as best as possible while we still work with our partner across the river on the other project.
And as long-winded as that is, I'm happy to second it so long as I don't have to repeat it.
Okay,
this is a quiz, Carrie, but the chair is in charge.
We're going to. Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Chair. You have some semblance of control anyway.
Thank you. Appreciate that. It's all
so I would like to say that I agree with the Vice Chair's comments. We both worked on the streetcar project for years, and it has gone the way it has gone. This is an opportunity for SAC-RT to get low-floor cars, which we've been vying for an awfully long time. This is a project that's long overdue for SAC-RT and will bring us into a sort of a whole new realm of service provision. I think it's very important. I'd also like to thank Mr. Barossa for your comments, because they were insightful and I think they were spot on.
Thank you. Mr. Cerna.
Thank you. Just a clarification from Mr. Hanson. Would it be to give direction to staff to come back with a singular recommendation or with some options for this board to consider?
It's options really because of the timeline the CTC has placed on us to spend the money. Mm-hmm. And the two projects that have been identified, one was the original project, which was the loop project, which includes the a new station that will better connect light rail to the inner city rail at the Sacramento Valley Station. Measure A has some funding set aside for it. I think $10 million for a new station, but we need to build the track to it. And then the other piece is the light rail vehicle replacement program, the modernization. So I just think by the 7th, they should show us how they would propose to spend the money from the 39 projects down to the 2 that are most viable.
So I think as long as it is presented that way in terms of options, I'm happy to support it.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions? I don't think a motion's necessary. I think that
this is an action item. I mean, this isn't an action item, it's
yeah,
information.
So
it was just for direction, and I think it's helpful just because this has been controversial, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, but I think that the staff has the adequate direction that they need at this point.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Next item.
Next item, item number 8, the general manager's report.
Good evening, Chair Kennedy, members of the board, and the public. I would like to begin my report by providing a brief update on our launch of the new bus network, SAC-RT Forward, and then ask our Director of Planning, James Boyd, to say a few words about the process, SAC-RT Forward. We launched our network just about 2 weeks ago. Hundreds of SAC-RT staff worked tirelessly in the lead up to the launch and afterwards. During the first week, we staffed major transit centers from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. at night and engaged with passengers about the new routes. The feedback we have received has been mostly positive, and we will continue to improve our performance. As you know, all routes have 7 days a week service now. In order to accommodate our riding public, SAC-RT's customer call center has now expanded hours of operations to assist customers with any questions they might have. The new hours will be Monday through Friday from 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. And this is for the weekdays. And in the past many years, we did not have the weekdays opening. Now we open our Saturday and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. At an agency like us, we promote customers first. And personally, I heard lots of comments about, our customer service centers is not open during the weekend days. It's just not, it's just not right or convenient. Yes. Before I ask James to expand on the launch and how the new network is doing, I would like to provide the entire board with a retired bus stop sign. Each sign is specific to district boundaries, and I hope you will display them proudly. And we would like to take a picture together when you have your sign here.
My 62.
Okay.
Neighborhood ride.
We're going that way? Yeah. Other side.
You don't have to be here.
I think I'm going to give it to Cyrus.
Okay.
What's that?
The last train of cars still right here.
All right, everybody, 1, 2, 3, bus stop.
Bus stop. Bus stop. No more.
Wave your signs in the air with the disco camera. There you go.
Here we go.
Thank you.
James?
We'll get a new one.
Ready to go, Adam? Deborah's going to come up here. Okay. Okay, Mr. Lee, please continue.
Yes, James, please.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I'm not going to belabor too much of what Henry said, but I just have a couple of slides I wanted to show you. And as Henry said, it was a huge effort. I want to just thank everyone district-wide who helped us pull this off successfully. So you can see here, this just gives you an idea of all of the different activities and functions we had going on for launch day and everything leading up to launch day with our weekly meetings. Our command center operations went off flawlessly. All of our street team folks, they played a huge role in making sure that all of our riders, or at least 99% of our riders, knew that there were changes coming. Internally, we had a lot of SAC-RT staff employees who volunteered to go out and be on the system both Sunday and Monday. So it was a huge effort. So quickly, a couple of stats. We had up to 54 members of our street team out at some of our busiest transit centers. We had at least up to 36 folks internally here working throughout the district at the command center to make sure Sunday and Monday went off as flawlessly as possible. We had extra road supervisors out driving in their assigned zones and districts to make sure that we weren't leaving passengers stranded and that everyone knew what was going on. We had operations personnel here, in-house, dispatchers, supervisors, superintendents. We had additional police services out to also help to make sure that we were making sure our riders knew what was going on. And then our facilities folks played a big role in this as well. They were out Sunday, Monday, fixing any kind of sign mishaps, cleaning shelters, working on shelters. So there was just a lot going on both Sunday and Monday. Just a couple of quick pictures. You can see we're here we're in the first buses were pulling out at 4:36 in the morning on Monday. A lot of us were here at 3 a.m. getting ready for that pullout. But it was long days, but it was great. I mean, this was probably the biggest project I've worked on in my career, and I have to say that it was great. It was an awesome experience. And we had a really great press conference with Henry there speaking and SACOG. I think Jay Cheniere was there, a board member was there speaking very early in the morning, and James Corliss, so that was great. This is just a picture that shows you all of the buses pulling out from the yard. It's like a train of buses, a whole consist of buses pulling out there, taking off to deliver service to our riders. And again, Henry, EMT, they were out at our transit stations just talking to riders and getting the feel for how the day was going. We also did not forget about our operators. We were giving away food and other prizes and water to our operators very early in the morning. So we wanted to make sure that we were just making sure that everyone, was participating and involved. And this was just a big group picture that we had here in the auditorium. This was on Monday on launch day. So that's really it for my part of the presentation. And Deborah is going to come up and speak a little bit, and then we have a quick video to show you.
How about a question on?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
Question, sorry.
So first of all, thank you, and it was a pleasure being there at 5:30 in the morning.
It was my pleasure.
It wasn't my idea.
And I hope you had a good sleep.
I did.
Just one question as we go forward. What I've told people, and I hope I'm right, is this will be an iterative process as we see what the needs are for various folks. So I've heard from some high school young people that the routes aren't working for them as they are. Mm-hmm. So how do we want to kind of process that information and get it to you so we can log it in and see where we might need to go if we need to change things?
So we are tracking everything that's coming in.
Right.
So we are getting feedback from customers, and we do keep track of that, and we are compiling our list. And when we do service changes, we'll probably do a major service change in April of 2020, and that's when we'll go back and address a lot of the big route changes, things that we probably could do better. Small scheduling changes we can address in January when we do signups then. But yeah, if you're hearing things, please forward them to us, and we will obviously.
Who specifically?
Yeah, well,
through Chris probably, and then if that way.
Is there a place, and I apologize for not knowing this, but is there a place on the RT website that people could go and say, here's the challenge that I have?
So there is a place on the website, and thank God Deborah's here because she could probably speak to it better than I can.
Because I think that would be easier than just sending you one-off emails.
And I believe it's a customer, it's a feedback, or RT in your neighborhood is on our website. and people can go and put questions in, and the questions will actually show up in a feed, and RT responds back to those questions. So that's another great thing that came out of this
So
project.
would that be the best way to do this?
That's probably what I would suggest you tell folks to do for the public.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, and one thing before I forget, ridership. I know that's important. As you know, we had free rides the first couple of days, and ridership was way up. So if we want to get really high ridership, free rides is the way to go. But we are continuously tracking ridership. So we'll probably be able to tell you a more detailed picture about what ridership looks like probably in October. Need a few more weeks to kind of see how things shake out, but we'll come back and talk to you about ridership and how it's performing.
Just to be fully transparent, after free ride, our ridership was not looking so good, but it's just beginning. People may not know, so we will see how eventually, a couple months later, what will look like. Okay.
Yep. Okay, I'll turn it over to Deborah.
Thank you, James. Good evening. As you just heard, this was a tremendous effort. And the most important part of it is making sure that the customers and the public were well aware of all the changes. And as you can see, this has been the most extensive outreach that I have ever encountered. I've been here almost 18 years. And I'm going to hit some of the highlights today. I won't read them all, but I'll hit the top two. As James mentioned, we have a 15-member street team that went out on road all the buses for 3 months. All of this occurred over the last 3 months, the strong outreach that we provided. The street team interacted with nearly 16,500 riders before launch day. And the other really amazing feat that we got out of this was that we received TV news media coverage, over 100 feature stories, positive feature stories reaching 1 million households. So that was really impressive. And I know that you mentioned about, you asked about feedback. That was one of the big things that we talked about early in this process, to make sure that we had a blog for people. And it is on our website. It's SAC-RT Forward in your neighborhood. And anybody can comment there, or they can reach out to customer advocacy through customeradvocacy@sacrt.com. That's another way as well. And we just want to thank you. We're going to show a little video that we put together to kind of show you some of the highlights.
The first bus pulled out on Sunday, September 8th at 5:22 a.m. SAC-RT staff was there to cheer and celebrate the launch of the new bus network. Staff was working behind the scenes to get ready for the bus pullout days leading up to the first driver getting behind the wheel. Temporary vinyl covers were pulled off bus stop signs, website updates were made, and driver assignments were updated in the dispatching systems.
2.5 years of planning and everyone working so hard and, working as a team. I think that, the launch on September 8th on Sunday and then Monday, September 9th went really well.
A small celebration was held in the SAC-RT auditorium right before the first bus pulled out. A big part of the monitoring of the new bus network was in the SAC-RT Forward Command Center. It was a one-stop shop to monitor the buses in real time and also monitor social media and the questions on the new SAC-RT in your neighborhood online forum.
The Command Center was instrumental in this whole process. It was a great place for communication out to the zone managers and the zone leads.
We wanted to make sure our operators were ready to go, so grab-and-go bags of fruit and water were available in the driver's room for them to pick up before they headed out to their bus. SAC-RT staff hit the streets to help riders navigate the new bus system. There were zone leads, road supervisors, and staff stationed at different transit centers across the region. New electronic real-time bus tracking signs were installed in 12 different bus shelters. The new signs let riders know when the next bus will arrive at that stop. The SAC-RT call center started expanded hours on Sunday. They were busy helping riders navigate the new system. And our facilities teams were busy checking bus stop signs and ensuring correct signage was installed throughout the system. Even our executive management team was out in the field providing support.
We made it through Sunday successfully, but we knew that Monday was the real test.
On Monday, SAC-RT staff celebrated the first bus that pulled out at 4:36 a.m., but this time it was followed by a press conference at bus maintenance facility at 5:30. Reporters with NBC, ABC, CBS, and Fox covered the press conference.
We start from a blank slate and spent nearly 2 years getting the public input and feedback about what our region's bus network should look like.
SACRT staff was busy in the command center troubleshooting any issues that came up along the way.
Key for the 2 days was communication and just making sure that everyone in the field knew who they were communicating any problems or issues or concerns to.
Our general manager and CEO, Henry Lee, visited some transit centers on Sunday and Monday to talk to riders and see how the new network was working. To celebrate this huge accomplishment, staff was invited to have SACRT Forward-themed cake in the auditorium on Monday afternoon. It was a perfect opportunity for Henry to thank some of the staff involved in the project.
I just want to say thank you. We could have never done a project of this size without all of the employees at SACRT. You know, from all the different divisions, from the operators to the maintenance guys, and women, I mean, everybody, you know. So this wasn't just a planning project. This was a SACRT project. This was a district project. So it took all of us working together to make this successful.
This really was a tremendous effort by all, so we thank you very much, and we're here to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Deborah.
Mr. Chair, I have one more small update. Brent is going to update us on our free rides for students program launching October 1st. Brent.
So we have a brief update on the free ride system, our program. This is where students ride free from October 1st this year through September 30th of next year. From a distribution perspective, by the end of September, we will have distributed stickers to over 300 schools. This is public, private, and charter schools. In addition, we're going to have distributed stickers to 22 public libraries as well. And finally, our sales center will have some tickets and stickers that for those people that can't go to those locations. This next slide, what we've done is we've just listed a bunch of the MOUs. There's about 21 of them up there right now where we've entered into MOUs, and some of those school districts have 50 or 60 schools within it. So we've done a lot of effort trying to get this out. And then some of the next steps we have right now is just making sure we do our press conference at McClatchy High School on October 1st, and we get more volunteers by the end of September to do more and more school sites.
I think you forget about how many agreements we signed with the public entities like cities and.
Oh, I was thinking we did, that was on this one, we did about the 21 MOUs, and then we have cities, non-agencies.
This doesn't show cities because we signed lots of.
Right, we're still working on some of those, yep. Yep.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Just to add to that, we met with RT staff a week ago Friday.
Yes.
And discussions are ongoing with the city of Folsom to accommodate what we are anticipating to be the needs of Folsom Cordova School District folks. And I only have, this is going to sound like a really horrible comment.
Cut the mic, please.
The use of the word ride free is really adorable, but given that this is addressed at school children, I think we really need to spell ride correctly.
Well, the Beatles, remember? Say no more.
Anything else, Mr. Lee?
I finished my report. Thank you.
It's okay if we use the logo.
Yeah.
It's cute, but if we're going to write it out, it should be RID. Just saying.
A quick
That is a
question.
good point.
Yes, Mr. Miller.
Yes.
How are we doing with Citrus Heights and the San Juan Unified School District, which is?
With Citrus Heights, we got an MOU out to all the cities. We haven't heard back. We heard back that you guys are working on it, but I just haven't got the signed one yet.
Okay.
At this point. Yeah.
Now,
So Mary's
chance to
helping.
check with staff.
She's doing great.
Thanks.
Mr. Lee.
That finished my report. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have two cards from the public. Jeffrey Tartagia.
Well, you know I'm the naysayer on through here. So 30 and 38 was missing at Sac Valley. You need to get in because you didn't get the word out about L Street being the changeover through there. You need to get a new bus stop in there. Somebody fortunately trimmed the tree so that you could actually see the bus stop at 9th and L, but you need something for the Capitol Street. You don't have it right now. You just simply take the, shall we say, thing and go from 9th and L, and the next bus stop is 5th and I Street. You need another bus stop in there, put in there for dealing with P2 so people can get on light rail. Right now, that's the way it's set up currently. That needs to be changed. A couple other places you need to do some things. We are about to go into the arena system. Events going on through there. You need to take for the altercation of 30 and 38 and put up there on where the 8th Street, and since you've gotten rid of the county administration building stop for the 15, that would be a good if it said 30 and 38 drop-off point. Because again, with it, you have the same situation where 9th and L, and then the next place is Sac Valley. There's a lot of people in between there in that distance that you are forcing to either get off at Sac Valley or 9th and L right now for those routes. Just needs to be where it says arena event drop off only for those 2 points in there. That's something that's missing in the system. The other thing you do not have at the Central Library, any of the maps, any of the current bus schedules whatsoever. I suspect that's also at but Sacramento State University, and also probably at Sacramento City College. Both of those had maps on there. You need to check because you still have some old maps. And again, back to Sac Valley Station, you've replaced one new map, but you've left an old map on the other side that shows you the 38 and other adjustments. It's kind of like up there at I and 80 of what your bus stops show and your locations on there. That's the naysayer that I offer to you is what needs to be addressed and changed in this situation of forward. Week before you guys did this change, got on the 15 a couple of times to find the 10 or 15 people that didn't know the change. And again, that was where hopefully you guys have made the recognition of at Arden, Del Paso, that it no longer goes south so people know to get onto light rail since it's no longer going south with the 15.
Thank you. Mike, oh yeah.
Can I just go back to the Director Miller? You had a question about San Juan. I just got some clarification. It's going to their board tomorrow night.
Oh, good.
Mike Barnbaum.
Thank you. Just to want to point out, the launch of SAC-RT Forward was a huge success. If you were out and about on Sunday or Monday, you see a lot of folks in these logoed polo shirts and these buttons about Ask Me. But SAC-RT Forward is just the beginning. Lots of us know that we're involved in the outreach, and leading up to the launch know there's a lot of work ahead. So you may have seen in your inbox, and there was over 40 stakeholders who received this. I try to include the board as part of the stakeholder group. The Fly SAC-RT project. This was launched electronically 6 days into SAC-RT Forward, and it looked at where perhaps there were some strikeouts or some places where it was not a home run, but anything less than a home run. To highlight just a little bit, it looked at reintroducing Route 80 on Elkhorn, but on Elkhorn to the airport, as Watt Avenue is well covered with Route 26 and Route 84. It looked at reintroducing service to Delta Shores, but in a different way than it was provided before, incorporating the needs of transit services into the city of Elk Grove from Delta Shores. It highlighted a route from the Elk Grove Corporation Yard north and south on Elk Grove Florin and South Watt Avenue to the Watt Manlove Station. Fly SAC-RT, though, highlighted 4 potential bus routes to get to your flight. Route 80 is mentioned, extension of Route 13 from Del Paso and El Centro, and routing Route 30 and Route 38 on L Street up I-5 freeway to the airport, and replacing Sacramento Valley Station with routes 62 and 51. Noticing, though, the cost of this is going to be pretty tremendous. So it looked at forming a financial advisory corporation within the organization. And it was called ABC, or Adelman, Berniger, and Courtwright. Recognizing these three individuals and their transportation financial expertise to get us through conventional and non-traditional funding mechanisms to look at how to fund this project going ahead. So it is out there for you to look at, and I spent 5 to 6 hours at the blood source, or Vitalent as they call it now, after a platelet donation 6 days after the launch of SAC-RT Forward.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay, that's the last card I have on that item, so next item, please.
Reports, ideas, and questions from directors. Item number 9, Paratransit Inc. Special Board Meeting Written Report from August 30th. If Directors Hanson or Hume have anything to add. No. Moving on, item number 10, Paratransit Inc. Board Meeting Summary from September 16th. If Director Hume has anything to add. Item number 11, Capital Corridor Joint Powers Authority Meeting September 18th report. If Directors Howell or Miller have anything to add?
Well, I don't want to add anything. I wanted to point out that we got a presentation from folks down the Bay Area. This doesn't affect our county, but they're putting another 1 cent sales tax on the ballot in 2020 for to maintain a state of repair for transit. A penny. I don't know how they can afford living down there.
Easy.
Yeah.
Okay. No, and
I knew I'd get them excited.
They made it very clear that some of that would in fact be dedicated to the Capital Corridor, but it is only the 9-county Bay Area region. I asked that specific question on purpose. So if anybody here hears about this, whatever they're calling their measure in the Bay Area, has nothing to do with us.
Anything
No
else?
charges in the Sacramento region, has nothing to do with Measure A.
Anything else, Mr. Miller?
That's it.
Thank you very much. We do have one card on this. Mr. Barnbaum, if you could be brief, it would be greatly appreciated.
Yes, thank you. Let me just quickly elaborate on that. In the furthest county east in the 9 counties would be Solano for that measure. Even though parts of Solano think they're Sacramento region and parts think that they're Bay region, their executive director, Daryl Halls of STA, said they are 100% the 9-county Bay Area, even if you're in Dixon. They said that's part of the Bay Area. We're like, okay. So Yolo, Placer, and Sacramento, to the point the directors made, are not included in this at all. The point I want to make after reading the one-page report, and it was an important omission from the meeting, for any riders taking Capital Corridor and the bus connection at Emeryville over to San Francisco, after October 13th, the temporary Transbay Terminal will be closed. Please note that that's 200 Folsom Street. Any ride taken starting October 14th and beyond, riders will be taken to an on-street location at 425 Mission Street, which is the new Salesforce Transit Center. This on-street location gives Capital Corridor, Amtrak, and the other JPAs like the San Joaquin and the Lausanne JPA ultimately the leverage to continue negotiating with the primary party, AC Transit, to get indoors in the Salesforce Transit Center. But for the meantime, they're going to be outside on at a street location, and hopefully things will progress going forward on that. Just to note, the next meeting on that board is November 20th in San Jose. And on a related note, I'm reminded, the September 27th SJJPA meeting in Stockton has been canceled. The next meeting of that JPA is the same week as the Capitol Corridor JPA. It'll be November 22nd, but the location has not been determined yet. I'll try to find out from their staff and let you know October 7th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Birnbaum. And with that, any board have any questions, comments? We're adjourned.